So let's move away from sort of measuring pipeline and pipeline impact into something that I think most marketers spend a lot of time doing, which is measuring program effectiveness and program ROI. Right. So it's pipeline impact is, I had this much impact on revenue, and generated this many leads, and I had this much impact on revenue. Program effectiveness is I did this trade show and this is what I got out of it, or I did pay-per-click and this is what I got out of it. Program effectiveness is, I think, a problem that perplexes many marketers, especially in a B2B context, because it's inherently really hard, right? There are, it takes on average 7 touches to get, a suspect into, a buying stage. So you have 7 different marketing programs that affect each person. Typical deal would have between 5 to 21 buyers. So you have this explosion of marketing influences that all along the way have sort of ultimately contributed to a deal. Plus you have what sales is doing and customer referrals and all that. Trying to tease that all apart to ultimately say the value of that particular trade show to that particular deal cycle ends up being I think, a hard problem that perplexes a lot of marketers.
I agree. It is a hard problem. And one of the things that I think you brought up earlier is a trade show is kind of an activity, right?
Yeah.
And you probably are doing that trade show in conjunction with other things associated with whatever is going to be part of that program. And a program really needs to be tied to a strategy. And so one of the things that I think as marketers we've lost is the ability to really think strategically. We've gotten so forced to be tactical in everything we're doing that we've forgotten about strategy. And so when we talk to people about strategy, I say, well, what kind of strategy are you going to use? And they're going to say, oh, we're going to use PR as a strategy. PR is not the strategy. Yep. You're back to having maybe a program or a tactic. So programs are tied to strategies. Strategies move marketing objectives. Marketing objectives are tied to business outcomes. So you want to have that, back to that comment about earlier, those A marketers, they have that direct line of sight from outcome, objective, strategy, program, tactics. It's very clear in their mind. And it's also well-defined for the C-suite. And that allows you to look at your programs in a more holistic way, because now you have all of your tactics associated with that program, and you can begin to look at which lever, which tactic was actually making a difference for that program, and did that program actually make a difference for that objective. And that's where you start getting into a little bit more sophisticated accountability, as opposed to just looking at the pipeline.
Yep, sort of waterfalling down that hierarchy. Makes a lot of sense.
Yes, in a bigger picture way, right? As opposed to, the pipeline's really important. It's kind of a horizontal view.
Yep.
This is actually more of a vertical view.
That's a good point. I think there's another problem that makes measuring marketing hard, and it's what I call the tyranny of time, right? Which is you do the marketing today, but it has an uncertain impact on revenue at some uncertain period in the future, right? So you're doing these strategies, you're doing these programs, but it doesn't turn into revenue until 2 years from now, or whatnot.
That's a really good point, and I think that's one of the things that the CMO needs to do a better job of in terms of conversations with the C-suite. There's very little, I mean, I'm saying it can't be done, but there's very little a marketer is going to do the first of the month that's going to make a difference on the 30th of the month. So yeah, there's some short-term things we can do. Yep. We can do promotions, special offers, couponing, something to drive a little bit of a lift, right, which is a good metric. But long-term, I mean, that's a short-term gain, but there could be long-term consequences to that kind of thing. Absolutely. In terms of your pricing structure, your market segmentation. You might be actually leaving a more valuable segment and going to more of a cherry picker segment, whatever, right?
Yep.
So it has implications when you do that. To your point, marketing is really about making sure we're where we need to be down the road, not just at this point in time. And so getting the CMOs, part of the CMO's job is to have clarity around this is how long it's going to take. It's not, we're not going to go out and in 30 days from now achieve everything, but we need to have a real plan.
Yep.
So back to a comment earlier.
Back to planning, setting expectations, setting the goals for everything that you do.
And companies are right now in this time that we're having this conversation in the thick of the planning season.